Welcome to The Game. This is the show where we go play-by-play analyzing the game of politics. Today, we have an exciting lineup. We're going to start with Jimmy Kimmel. He's going to be back on air after temporarily being suspended. What does this mean in the fight of freedom of speech? What role should the FCC be playing when it comes to monitoring broadcasts or in general when it comes to censoring or monitoring what is said on the news? Then we're going to turn to Washington, where the fight to a possible shutdown continues. There's going to be a high-stake meeting between the Democrat leadership, folks like Schumer meeting one-on-one, or in a group, I should say, with Donald Trump. What will be the outcome? Then we turn over. We're going to go to Puerto Rico, where Bad Bunny has just finished a unique and very groundbreaking tour or residency in the island. What does this mean for Puerto Rico, its economy, the identity, and the path forward? Will other artists follow along with what he's doing? And joining me here today to talk these topics is Carolina Rosario. She's been a journalist and an anchor for 14 years with Univision. She is the author of the column Brutally Honest on Substack and the founder of Brain Nerds, a mental health nonprofit. Carolina, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Wadi, for having me. To me, it's a pleasure. I mean, I love to talk to you always in Univision and now here your podcast.
Yeah, funny enough, this is the first time where the roles have switched. Typically,
yes.
Carolina's asking me the question. So hoy me voy a vengar yo. Today.
Which I feel nervous because I don't like when people ask me questions. I just like to ask the questions.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay.
Today it's gonna be a fun episode. Again, a lot going on in politics in general, and there seems to be this intersection of politics, culture, and just like society, right? We're gonna talk a little bit about that later on with Bad Bunny. But when it comes to Jimmy Kimmel, I mean, this all started last week with comments that he had on Monday, where many people have said, and I think we can all agree that it was out of line, where he said that the killer of Charlie Kirk, that the president and all the supporters of Charlie Kirk were trying to paint the assassin as anything but as one of them. We now have ample evidence that no, he was not someone who was following the Magnum movement or wasn't a supporter of the Magnum movement. But then this continued to unfold, right? The FCC chairman had statements on Wednesday, which followed by Nexstar and Sinclair. As many people know, they are two of the companies that air. They have the affiliates of ABC, so they air a lot of their content. Then ABC made the announcement that Jimmy Kimmel was going to be suspended with no date of return, and it really became this battle of freedom of speech. Fast forward to yesterday, Monday, ABC announces that they're bringing Jimmy Kimmel back, which actually today, Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, is the return of his program. A lot of people are going to be expected. Here's what I want to unfold with you, Carolina. Again, coming very much from your background. You've been in journalism. You've been in the newsroom. You've covered sort of these nuances of freedom of speech. I think this topic carries multiple layers, right? There's the layers of what Jimmy Kimmel said. There's the layers of what the FCC chairman said. Then there's what the fighters of freedom of speech supposedly in this conversation are saying. Then there's what the administration is saying. I want to get a very just top-line reaction before we get into the weeds of some of this. What comes to mind when you think of sort of this battle around what is right and wrong in reference to Jimmy Kimmel?
Well, first, I think it's important to say that social media is driving us all crazy. Yeah. And nowadays, everything you say can be taken against you. So what the chairman of the FCC said at the moment, I think it was unfortunate for the situation because there was so much confusion and so many reactions. So, and the FCC, we need to understand, has an important role of protecting public airwaves in a way that you don't say bad words, you don't offend maybe children saying things that are not appropriate and things like that. And of course, they have some regulations regarding fairness when it comes to politics, specifically to politics. When you're interviewing a government official or a candidate, you need to give them equal time or certain things that they adjust to bring fairness to the game, right? But people need to understand that also we have private companies that even though they use public airwaves, FCC has limits of what they can control. And private entities have their own policies.
Yeah.
And many employees, when they are hired, they signed on those policies, but we don't think about it, or maybe we don't read it well, or we don't pay attention.
We don't know the details in the contract per se.
Or maybe we are like, it doesn't matter. I mean, nothing is going to happen. And we keep going without thinking about what we are saying or not saying. And I think I can take all this situation to myself. When I was in Univision as a journalist for many years, I mean, newscasts, for example, they have editorial lines, right? They try to be objective, but they have certain things that they don't believe on or they don't want to bring to the table. And that's a reality. Let's be honest. And for example, working in Univision, many times I wanted to cover certain topics that they didn't agree with or they didn't like or they didn't thought they were good enough for the audience. And in some moments, I kind of felt like censored, like, oh, why we don't talk about this specifically, right? And then I understood, like, okay, this is a private company. Even though we're doing news and we're doing other stuff that we think might be completely open, there's editorials, right? And when it comes to private companies, we need to understand it. And I think in this case, ABC released a statement, and basically they said that they thought those comments of Jimmy Kimmel were incendiary for the situation, and they took the decision to take him off for some time. We see that now he's returning. And the return of this man, it's a direct message that this was a private decision. That's what it seems like, right? According to the facts, because he's coming back. Now we have to see what he's going to say and what his approach is going to be when he comes back. They had conversations. Apparently, they made the decision after talking to him. So I hope that he will kind of like regret it. But I don't think he's going to be like, oh, I'm sorry. I think it will be more like in the you know, like something like
lukewarm about
but
it.
He's going to throw some things, but indirect. I don't know.
I think tonight is probably going to be one of the most watched shows because there's a peak of interest of what you just said. How does he address it? I don't think he's going to flat out, like you said, apologize. I think he will address it, but it will be somewhat lukewarm. It will be something that maybe some people will be like, okay, he addressed it. Let's move on. Others are not going to be satisfied.
Absolutely. It's not enough, and people are going to criticize. But let's think about executives. I mean, if I work for ABC and I know I'm having trouble with ratings, right? And like all the networks, it's not just ABC. It's the new world we're living in where people prefer to watch a podcast instead of a traditional show or newscast. This is a great PR strategy as well. Because think about it, like, okay, we make the responsible decision of taking him out, like as a punishment, because we thought these comments were insensitive, and now we're bringing him back, and we're bringing back the attention to a show that didn't have much ratings. So now they're gonna get good ratings. I don't know. I'm speculating. We have to wait and see. At least for the next few days. But it's also a good strategy. Also, I know the contract of Jimmy Kimmel, I think, is about to expire in a couple of months. So we need to see what's gonna happen after that. I mean, there's a lot going on, but the main point here is like we gotta be careful, especially officials that work with the government. I mean, I don't know what's going on with this administration specifically, that everybody talks so much, and in a world of social media where everyone is gonna take specific information and use it in their favor, accommodate it to like approve their rhetoric. It's very. I mean, people have to be careful of what they say. I mean, it's not censoring. It's just be careful. You're an FCC chairman. Don't say that the same moment someone is saying something. It creates speculation. And let me tell you something. I don't have the evidence in front of me. Maybe he did it on purpose. And maybe they were behind closed doors conversations to put pressure. I really don't know.
And that's where it's tricky. We don't know how it would have played out otherwise, right? So I think there's a lot of people who would say there should have been some type of consequence to what Jimmy Kimmel said. That could have been a 1-day suspension, a week suspension. But the thing is, I think the order of events is what's tricky to some individuals. Ted Cruz, a Republican, a strong supporter, he criticized the order of events. The FCC chairman, to his belief, should have not come out with the comments as strong as he did, because he says, what is the role? He cautions conservatives. What happens when the FCC begins to tener un patrón in this space? And what happens when we're not in power? He says, what happens when they try to silence conservatives? I do want to get a little bit into the topic of, I think a lot of people lose faith in politics and in politicians because of hypocrisy. Because one day they say one thing, and then when they're not in power, or when they are in power, they say another thing. I want to point out what I think are, let's call it what it is, some of the hypocrisies in this space. I'm going to start with Democrats. There are some stuff on the Republicans that I'll mention. But on the Democrat side is when they controlled the White House and Congress, they tried to push the FCC's jurisdiction beyond broadcast because FCC is specifically on broadcast. They wanted to expand it into cable networks, to broadband, and even create a separate entity that would have jurisdiction over some, not social media, but news programs that aired only through digital platforms, which include social media. It didn't pass, but this is an area where, imagine if all those bills would have passed and the FCC chairman, one of the things here, I'll actually read it. It says, Democrats, they claim to want to prevent discrimination and what they called misinformation. So by expanding the power of the FCC, if they would have done that under the Biden years, this would have empowered this government even more. But Democrats have been the ones criticizing the FCC. So there's a little bit of hypocrisy here. Let me point out the Republican ones real quick and get your reaction. Do you believe there's hypocrisy a little bit? On the Republican side, for many years, Republicans criticized what Democrats were trying to do by saying that was government overreach and that government shouldn't be in the business of telling a lot of these sort of news outlets or commentators what they can or cannot say. But now Republicans are the ones applauding what the FCC did. So in your opinion, I mean, do you agree that there is some level of hypocrisy here? Is this just politics as normal? What is the right path forward when it comes to these kind of conversations?
I think part of politics, it's hypocrisy. And that's very political, what you're telling me. And there's definitely hypocrisy. And we have had a lot of that in the Democratic side. And that's why many people converted to Republicans. But also, let's talk about the Trump administration that sold themselves as the most transparent one. And they're also having hypocrisies, not just in cases like this that you mentioned, that is very important, but let's say Epstein case and all the things going on around that and other stuff that people are not trusting. So it's also very funny that we're talking about all these things when Charlie Kirk was assassinated and basically on defense on
freedom of speech,
freedom of speech, because one thing he said many times is that for him, hate speech didn't even exist because he thinks that everything is just free speech, right? And one thing that also comes to my mind is what Pam Bondi said about that. She, talking about hypocrisy, she came out and she said, okay, freedom of speech is not hate speech. And it's different because hate speech that takes someone to do something wrong is a crime. But that's weird because one thing is the speech and one thing is the action.
Those are different.
So let's say that hate speech is included in free speech. That's something else, that when you punish someone because you kill someone because someone said something. It's not about the speech, it's about what the person did. Like you criminalize the action, not the words. And that was weird because it came from an administration that it was all about freedom of speech.
It's funny because I saw the Pam Bondi video and someone clipped it and then did the Charlie Kirk video where basically Charlie Kirk, again, this is his comments were in the past, but it sort of was contradicting what Pam Bondi said or kind of correcting. So it's a different opinion where Charlie Kirk, was saying that all speech is sort of included. You draw the line where you take action versus Pam Bondi was saying no. And I think many people are going to ask her to clarify because, again, she's at the Department of Justice, and it's almost kind of important when someone at that level speaks and what is it that they're actually going to go after. It's an important topic in my opinion.
But we're talking about limiting speech. If they do something to change that, they're limiting speech.
You're putting limitations on it.
And this is a party that it's supposed to be about more of defending freedom, right? And we also have to separate like what the government can do and what morals are. I mean, morals are individual. You have to decide what you're going to do. And the law dictates what's law. In this case, we have the freedom of speech that is in the Constitution. So I think it's important to keep that.
Yeah. You brought up Charlie Kirk, and I think one of the most sort of memorable moments of Sunday's funeral in Arizona was when his wife, Erica Kirk, during her speech said that she forgives the young man who killed her husband. And he said that Charlie fought and wanted to influence men like him, and that he forgave her at a time where there seems to be a lot of, you got to pick one side. You're either for Jimmy Kimmel being out, or you're in favor of him being in, or you're pro-Trump or you're anti-Trump. Like at a time where it seems like there is division. Her coming in, and if there's anyone that I think we believe could be angry and unforgiving and sort of holding a grudge,
Sure.
it could be her. How do you view this? What's your thoughts to what she said and what she sort of brought into the public arena?
A lot of things happened in that event, and a lot of, people said like different things that were not all good and all bad. But to me, the most important message, and the message that I think everyone needed to hear, was precisely what Erica Kirk said. To me, gave me goosebumps. I'm a believer. I'm a Catholic. And, we always struggle with those kind of things, like to forgive the person that we don't like, or the person that harm us, And to hear those words, that has a meaning that is beyond human nature.
Yeah.
Right? It's beyond human nature. And you saw her, many people are saying, okay, she's fake. She's just acting so much. One thing I used to debunk the fakeness that people perceive in Erica Kirk, it's that if she is a Christian, a new Christian, and now she's just acting like that, I would be like, okay, maybe it's fake. But she has been doing this for quite long.
Yeah.
And I think that length of time and perseverance and consistency with what she preached for and what she's doing with her life kind of like give you an idea of that this could be real. This is real,
it's genuine,
right?
it's authentic.
And maybe she's acting different as people used to see her, like in the way she moves and she talks, but she just lost the love of her life, her husband. So I think you're not normal. You're a different person. And I don't know what's going through her inside, She's in public when she talks, but you don't know what's inside of her.
Yeah.
But that step that she did, what she said, to me was what we needed to hear as a country. And I know that moment was emotional and touched everyone, even Democrats. It's impossible, right? And I think we need more of that.
I think so too. I think it sets the tone for what's to come, because a lot of the conversations are what's next, right? People are asking what's next with Turning Point, which she's now going to be the CEO. What's next for the conservative movement around young folks?
Yeah.
And I think she set the tone, because I think there are different voices. There are some individuals who kind of had some rhetoric, who just kind of sounded like it was combative and maybe not the right tone, but I think she set the right tone.
Trump. It's funny when Trump said, I'm not like Charlie Kirk, I hate my opponents and I don't want good for them. That's interesting. At the beginning, I was like, oh my God, why is he saying that? Like, what's wrong with this man in this moment? Like, this is not what we need, right? But then I was like, okay, maybe he's being honest and he's just being like, I like Charlie Kirk and what he stands for, but I know I'm not like him. So that also brings space in a party that is supposed to belong to a lot of people, not just Christians, to say it like that, to have space in there. I don't know. I'm trying to look for the way of trying to understand how someone would say something like that in a place like that. So that's my kind of like my justification, I think. Or I don't know if it should be justified. But to be honest, I think people need to hear more words like Erica Kirk. And I'm looking forward to what she's going to do with Turning Point. I want to hear her in those colleges talking to students, because I think she's going to bring something different. She's going to be her own. She's not Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, she has her own brand, and I think she is, obviously, Turning Point has its mission and its goals, but she's going to continue to move that forward at a time where we need public discourse, where we need to be able to disagree and be friends, and where we need to be able to have conversations. Something that Charlie said is that the moment we stop talking is where he said, like, violence almost becomes a bigger option. But if we're talking and we're at least having these conversations, there's a human aspect of it. And I think it's something that's beautiful about our country, is that we believe in that public square, that place where we can have an exchange of ideas. And I think something that I would challenge our audience always, and ourselves, that when we are having these discussions, let's focus on having debates on the merits of the policies or the merits of the ideas, without having to attack the individual. Because I think that's when we start getting out of line, right? There's a difference between saying your idea is stupid and saying you are stupid, right? Absolutely. I mean, some people might not even like the usage of the word stupid, but let's leave it in there. But there's a difference between the idea and the person.
Yeah, and that's what happens sometimes with a person like Trump, that is different. He's different. And I have seen that I have met many Trump's followers and have been in events in Washington like you. And I noticed that Trump's followers, they don't look like him, and necessarily they don't talk like him, they don't act like him. They're not like Trump. But they're looking to the, maybe not the person, but the policies that they believe in, right? You don't need to believe in those policies. I mean, those people that believe in those policies. But it's interesting, but you're right. Don't focus on the person, focus on the platforms, the policies, ideas. Because at the end of the day, those are the ones that are going to impact you for real. The rest is really noise.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and speaking of Washington, I do want to move on to our next topic. We're going to be talking about the government shutdown, or the possible government shutdown. There's the September 30th deadline, but I want to focus on the high stakes meeting between Donald Trump and Democrat leadership, specifically Leader Schumer, Minority Leader Schumer in the Senate. Carolina, you've covered a lot of these sit downs between Donald Trump and heads of states. Sometimes, like he's brought in allies like from Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, or individuals from the United Kingdom. But he's also brought folks that are from, por decir, la opposition party, which is Democrats right now. And in the past, in the 2016 to 2020, these meetings seemed to be kind of uncomfortable. In the past, they were somewhat like diplomatic. It was almost like just a photo op, and then they would close the doors and have those debates. Not with Trump. It seems like he likes to have these debates and kind of like poke the bear in front of the cameras. Look, a government shutdown is no algo fácil. It shuts down a lot of resources for veterans, for people receiving essential services. There's a lot of people who become temporarily not unemployed, but they don't have their paycheck wouldn't come in. So there's a lot on the line, and there's also discussions of to include the Obamacare subsidies or to not. But I want to ask you on the politics of all this. How do you envision this meeting will go? Who kind of has the upper hand when it comes to this discussion?
I think Trump is going to lead it. Trump is going to poke some people, like always. I mean, I haven't seen any different from Trump. If something different comes up, maybe it will be like surprising for all of us. But I do think that this is like a deja vu. You know, every year, every certain months, we have this government shutdown coming to us and the hysteria about it. And I think politicians really use this for politics, right? I think Democrats they know big part of their base are people who use Obamacare. Many low-income families are looking for that they need those resources, and now we have a midterm soon, and I think they need to send a message that we care about this. We're not leaving you alone. We need to do this fight, right? And that's why they're pushing for it. If it's gonna pass or not, if they're gonna get into an arrangement, let's see. But they always do at the end. Because
how important is this meeting for Democrats in the lens of, you mentioned the 2026 elections, and two things come to mind. There doesn't seem to be like a clear leader for Democrats right now. There's Governor Newsom, who's very vocal out in California. There's folks who have risen to the forefront, like Mandami in the mayor's race, right? A Democrat socialist. But then you have sort of your old school folks, Nancy Pelosi still vocal, Schumer. In this meeting, it's going to be Schumer, and it's going to be the new the new minority leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries. He's supuestamente that new wave of leadership in the party.
And he's being aggressive.
So that goes to my question. Do you think for Democrats, this meeting is a way to kind of show, one, hey, we're mean business for next year, and two, Hakeem Jeffries, is he going to try to sort of really stand out in this meeting?
Absolutely. I think he's going to be a dog cat fight. I mean, they're being aggressive. Newsom, an example, like he said, we got to be aggressive. We got to be active, because they understood that the message of the Republican Party was taking over. They were being big and bold. And it was working for them. They were like leading the rhetoric. They were leading the news. They were leading everything. And they couldn't stand just still. They had to be aggressive to call the attention, because we also live, sadly, in a world where that's what works. Again, you were saying before, like focus on the laws, not on the person. But sadly, the nature of this world of social media and viral content, it's about personality. So the personality is what brings the message and make it go places, right? So I think it's going to be probably aggressive. Probably both sides will stand up. I'm sure Hakeem Jeffries and the Democratic Party will be like, this is important. It's healthcare. They don't care about you. They're going to cut funding. You're going to pay more. People are going to be without healthcare, which is something really important. And let's see. I mean, I think it's politics. I mean, I see those things, and honestly, I just sit down and watch because there's so much politics inside. I mean, maybe deep inside they know they're not going to be able to get what they want, but they need to show that they tried.
Yeah, I think it's part of that.
Because at the end, you're going to say like, okay, we tried and it was on them. They fail you. And you get those tools, but that's politics. You play for it.
That's going to be the message, I think, of both parties sort of coming out, right? So Republicans, they have the majority on both sides.
Yeah.
They passed the bill in the House. The only reason it didn't pass in the Senate is because no Democrats voted in favor. So Republicans are going to say, look, it was Democrats who didn't want to vote for it, so they shut down the government.
And they're basically saying, like, hold on, it's not that we're not going to touch that, but later. They just want to, like, okay, let's do the security thing. They want to approve a lot of $1 million for security because of everything that had happened. And Democrats agree with that.
Yeah.
They just want to add the health thing. And Republican Party is saying, yes, but not yet. So let's see what happens.
Well,
I mean, I hope nobody end up without health insurance coverage, because I know that's really important for everybody. And I hope they, resolve this issue.
Yeah,
they always do at the end.
It's going to continue to be a negotiation, because the government cannot shut down. We understand there's a lot of essential services on there. The other topic that we want to move into is really Bad Bunny's 200 million boost and the impact that's had in Puerto Rico. And Carolina, you are from Puerto Rico, La Isla del Encanto.
Yes.
So I love being able to talk, have this conversation with you, because just on Saturday, Amazon, or on Sunday, Amazon announced that their Saturday streaming of the last concert of Bad Bunny's Residency broke the record of I think it's the largest audience of a musical streaming concert streaming.
Before Bad Bunny, it was Beyonce. And Beyonce has like 5 million, almost 6 million views. He had like 11 million.
Yeah, he more than doubled it.
Insane. Benito Martinez Ocasio, his real name, which is Bad Bunny. I mean, his story is awesome. And I think it's more simple than what people might think. Bad Bunny, he grew up in Puerto Rico, in Vega Baja. He comes from a normal Puerto Rican family. I mean, his dad was a truck driver. I think his mom was a teacher. And Puerto Rican, typical family, like hard workers, good people, givers, humble. That was his family, and that's who he is. He did an interview with El Nuevo Dia, which is a newspaper in Puerto Rico, a very important one. And the title was, "I'm Just a Human," right? And I loved that article because it is the essence of Bad Bunny. Basically, he said that the reason why he was doing these shows about Puerto Rico, in Puerto Rico, no? La Residencia, the residency. He explained it very simple. He said, like, when I came to fame, like big fame, like in 2022, he said that he felt very empty and lonely because he was like, I'm just far from everything that I am, like my family, the things I like, the sports I do. And I'm just with all these people that I don't really know, powerful, but it doesn't mean anything to me. Even in one concert, he said that he was very depressed, like singing, that he stopped and he left the stage. But he also tells the story that when he was interacting with people and he would say, I'm from Puerto Rico, two things happened. One is that people would be asking him questions like, what about this in Puerto Rico, the history and stuff like that. And he would be like, I don't know the answer. I'm Puerto Rican. I grew up here and I don't know the answer. I don't know my history. I don't know what to tell them. That's one thing. The other is that he noticed that when he would talk to people, rich people from other places, I'm from Puerto Rico, they would be like, oh, taxes. And he would be like, damn, like, come on, get taxes. Like, what's going on? We're more than taxes. We're not a tax heaven. So those things made him go back and think. And he was like, man, I went to school. I was smart. I had good grades. I don't know my history. I don't know what we are. I don't have my proudness. I mean, I don't know. I go places and people talk to us like, okay, tax heaven. That's it. We're not this. So he went into this inside, I don't know, revolution. And he started reading books about history, connecting with people, talking to people that know a lot about Puerto Rico. And he did this album with Joel. With Joel, he is a historian, very young. He's from Puerto Rico, and he did the information about the island. You know, when you see his videos, I don't know if you have seen it.
Yeah, I've
They
seen
have
many of them.
those banners with the history of Puerto Rico, and he started a mission. And
So was this concert in your opinion, was it about exposing Puerto Rico to the world, or did it have to, or was it sort of telling Puerto Rico we need to know our own history?
it's about telling Boricuas, be proud of yourself. You're more than what you think. Being a Jibaro is not to be ashamed of. You're a Jibaro, be proud of it, and know your history. I know you don't know your history because I didn't know it either. I'm going to help you, and I'm going to make you think and feel that we are cool and we deserve better. And this is for the Boricuas in the island, and also to tell the people in the world we are here and we are more than what you think we are. That's what it is. And that's why in the concert, all his music is so much patriotism, right? And I think, you know, when you learn about the history of Puerto Rico, you understand that there's a colonialism factor from the United States. 1898, U.S. invaded Puerto Rico, and it became a colony. I mean, they used Boricuas to go to war. They implemented laws and regulations that really didn't benefit the island. It just harmed the island, the citizens, but benefited the country, United States. At one point, they brought a lot of things in exchange that helped the island grow in infrastructure and stuff like that. But the system didn't develop for the individual. It became an island of poor people. I was reading statistics today, Wadi, and in Puerto Rico, like 42% of the population is poor. 42%. So some people would say like, oh, but you guys are territory of the United States. You are with the United States. But we are 41% poor. So we depend on federal funding. Puerto Rico receives about $20 billion a year, approximately, from the United States in federal government. And we're poor. So the whole system, which is crazy. I can talk about this for hours here. But it's the colonialist mind, people that don't feel enough. We have received some help from the United States, but governments have stolen that in the island.
Local government? Yeah, okay.
Local government, absolutely. A lot of fraud. The ex-governor, Wanda Vasquez, she had a fraud case recently. We have people like, there's a lot of cases, most of them federal, investigated. Actually, Trump hold some of that help because he was mad at what's going on in the island. So there's a lot of corruption. But you get a lot of corruption when you receive a lot of free money.
Yeah.
That always happens. So that's why the movement that Bad Bunny is trying to bring to the island is about conscious and telling people, believe in yourself. You're awesome. Boricuas are awesome. And we are more than a tax haven. He also hates the tax haven thing because he thinks that if a person lives like 180 something days in the island and have an address, you can go there, start your business, you pay 0 federal taxes, and the only thing you give to the country is like 4% in local taxes, which is minimum. And they offer jobs and stuff in exchange, but it's not equitative.
It's not the same balance.
It doesn't work. And what's happening is that all these rich people are coming to Puerto Rico to benefit of those things, and they're buying properties and stuff, and everything is going up in prices. And those poor people that I mentioned, nobody can afford anything. So there's a housing problem in Puerto Rico. The young people are leaving the island. In the last 20 years, I think 17%, I don't know if I have this wrong, a lot of people left. There's more Boricuas in the United States than the country. And that's not the idea. Right?
Well, let me ask you this on Bad Bunny, to some of the items you were mentioning now. There's no doubt that many of the headlines we've seen here in the mainland in the United States, it's typically when there's a tragedy going on in Puerto Rico, everything from Hurricane Maria or to possible cases around fraud, or just, it's typically when you're in the headlines in general, typically it's not good news. And there's been many artists in the past who have criticized sometimes local government in Puerto Rico, or have criticized the U.S. federal government in their role in Puerto Rico. There have been many people who have said that the U.S. isn't doing enough towards the island. My question is this: Does Bad Bunny kind of change the model of advocacy? And what I mean by that is, I believe what makes him stand out is a lot of other artists who I'm sure love Puerto Rico. These are Boricuas that love the island. Some of them born in the island. Some of them born in New York or in other places. I'm not trying to come against their love for the island, but their approach wasn't one like Bad Bunny. It seems that he changed the model where he said, I'm going to change by bringing people to Puerto Rico and doing my residency here instead of the rest of the world.
He even said in that interview, what I did, it's something that anyone could have done before. I mean, they just didn't do it, right? But I don't blame them. Many artists are focused on the artistic part, and they don't want to get involved in, political context. Because even though this is about culture, it's about politics as well. And he has been critical of governments and stuff. So, but I think Bad Bunny is just different, he has a different heart and a different mission. He's a guy of mission. That's why when he tells the story of 2022 feeling bad because he's not connected to his roots, he has a different mission, and he's not afraid of it. He's not afraid of it. And he's courageous. I mean, let me give you an example. This might sound funny. I don't think he's a good singer, right?
The social media is gonna blow up with that comment.
No, but he's not a good singer. I mean, he's genre. He has a cool voice, and he's authentic, and he's different, and he's original. He writes very well. I know his lyrics sometimes are kind of like...
For some people, they can be vulgar.
XXX. But in the genre, the way he writes is amazing. I mean, many of his music, you listen to some songs being sung by other people that have amazing voices, and he's like, wow, what a great song. I mean, he's great at that. He's just not an amazing singer. But the fact that he was there in the stage singing Preciosa next to Mark Anthony, being him, that he doesn't have the voice of Mark Anthony, of course, it talks about courage. I mean, you just think about the type of person he is. He really doesn't care. He bets on him. He goes for it.
He goes all in.
And that's what he's showing with this. Many artists, maybe they thought about it. Oh, I would like to say this about Puerto Rico or use my platform for this, but they didn't have that courage. But he has it. And I think we can expect a lot from Bad Bunny regarding politics and culture in Puerto Rico. A lot more.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. He's been active. And one thing that I do like about what he did is he didn't just criticize. He took action. He said, I'm going to be sort of that change that I want to see. And he has the power. I think he's proven that you can do that. It's going to be interesting to see what he does in the future in the space of politics in general when it comes to Puerto Rico, and then what other artists begin to say in that. I do want to thank you, Carolina Rosario, for being here today on The Game. Appreciate your time here. I'm sure we'll have you back here again.
Thank you so much, and thank you for what you're doing. I mean, it's important to have conversations about every topic, so it's great. And don't forget that I have a surprise for you guys on September.
You have an announcement coming, right?
September 30th.
All right.
So, ahí estén pendientes in C Rosario News, my Instagram, so you guys can see what is it about, and it's good for all of you. So, tune in.
All right, make sure to pay attention there. Thank you to our audience for tuning in for this episode. Again, this has been The Game, the show where we go play by play, analyzing the game of politics.